Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the official return to the MadCast Live. I'm your host, MadCap. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from across the world, around the world, as I should say, and across all time zones, whichever you occupy. Glad you were able to tune in on this special hour because right now it's pretty much just something I've been wanting to get off my chest for a long time, but just a way to just to give some context and backstory to where I've been uh, these past few months, and I will say it's been quite a crazy ride. Give me one sec. But if anyone who's tuning in, you're more than welcome to leave me any questions, any film related questions, since it's mostly going to be essentially just going a bit personal, but I do plan to just talk about what media I've been following, since the many changes that have happened. But as always, welcome. I should be able to get some people on board on the chat. As you can see, my window is pretty small. Not a whole lot of subscribers, but I'm hoping following this stream, I do plan to get some content going. But if you could see live, this is pretty much less. This excuse me. This is just pretty much my studio setup. Hope you guys like the new decor and new equipment that I was able to get by on, just getting everything together. That way I could uh, make this announcement. In that way, from there on, you might expect some future content ahead for my channel of Madcap Productions. So, so the big question is, why have I been so long away from YouTube? Well, it's pretty simple, really. I was living in California, and whoops. I was living in California. Shit. I think trying to make sure there's not much feedback going on because I can hear through my headset. Shit. Okay, as I was saying, so reason why I've been away from YouTube is because with the past year been a real change of events for everybody with COVID-19. People are just keep it together, trying to how should I say this? Keeping their finances close, as well as just getting going through the many things that have that pretty much follow from COVID. Because right now we're pretty much in vaccination period where people are getting drafted on days on when the vaccine will be available to them. But there's been like a lot of stuff that's gone on. It's been such a crazy roller coaster of a year that went past us. Hundreds of thousands of people have died. Some big name people across Hollywood, as well as in the political side, because I think RBG is a pretty big name with liberal politics, and she had passed away, unfortunately. And pretty much just there's been an economic downturn in terms of just keeping everybody safe with social distancing measures, closing down businesses, and not knowing when businesses are going to be opening. But for where I was coming from, I was living in a two-bedroom apartment in California. I was sharing some roommates, and judging from the things that we're looking, or just kind of what we're going to be looking forward ahead. I didn't see myself sticking around another year in California because I was just kind of done doing the whole shared housing business. Having to share with roommates, sharing the same electricity, water, gas, and internet with somebody new or somebody who I would share the roof with. And surprisingly, with COVID and everything, it would seem like it would just be it would just lead into some financial issues, or maybe a roommate will have to jump ship and leave the apartment for some more affordable housing, or they had to move back to their folks. But honestly, I'm quite surprised that that never happened. I didn't have any flaky roommates. Well, from where I started, from where I was living at in California, I was I started with some pretty flaky roommates until we found much better roommates along the way. So, time was open for change, and the change proved to be better for myself and anybody who I shared the apartment with, especially longtime roommates who I become close friends with. But it wasn't that drastic of a change, especially in my lifestyle there, because we were just short on a few roommates later on, and we had like a whole bedroom to anybody who would like to move in, and usually the the market value for having a spare whole bedroom open is pretty high, because with a shared room, if somebody has to move in with a roommate to share the whole space with, you're gonna have some inquiries, and you're gonna have some people looking to see the place first. But as soon as I had a whole bedroom open, I'm like like about a dozen requests for people when I made the post out, were asking about the bedroom, and it was just like, it was just like wolves on sheep or flies on shit or what have you. And I was able to find a steady roommate to last through the rest of our lease, and he's actually a pretty cool guy, and we were able to get by throughout the whole leasing period, at least until October. So that was a relief for everybody, because I was so worried that you know with having a whole bedroom open means that if not my roommates, then I would have to put in double the amount of rent that I had to pay for. Well, frankly, that didn't happen. So I found a good roommate, and he usually just would have his friends over, and he's huge into video gaming. He has his own built-in PC, brought a bunch of consoles, and he has some guy where they could just shoot the shit and just play in some sessions and stuff. But there's actually a big cost to that, because once they have their all night gaming sessions, the electricity bill got pretty high. So that sucked. But as soon as my lease was wrapped up, we were able to just pay for the rest of the rent, even the holy shit, fuck, I forgot the term. It's when you don't have to pay the full months, but just what's remaining, depending on the days. Prorates, yeah. So we just managed to pay the prorate until mid October, and I was settling with my folks who were living in Los Angeles County, and I was planning some big move that I was not very certain of, but here's the thing. From the many channels who I subscribe to, I follow Please Rewind, and who goes by the name Pat on his channel. And me and Pat, we'd linked up through Twitter, and I'm on his Discord server, and we have been keeping in touch, and he's told me about how great Columbus is, because here's the thing, because with COVID and everything, it seems like California was going to hit into like a pretty rough spot, and it seemed like it was going to be impossible. And I well, beforehand, it seemed like already impossible for people who are living in California, especially like under the age of 30 or just fresh out of high school, are not going to find housing right away because housing is relatively expensive in California. That the only way to find like good housing is you have to find like you have to go into a system where you have to find open rooms that are offered by tenants or by a unit of roommates. So that's something I wasn't really going to go through. But Pat was telling me how great Columbus is because he's had a move from Pennsylvania and he's lived in Columbus since 2018, and um, and meanwhile he had his channel going where, his channel is pretty known for like film buff stuff. He talks about media, and his channel got to my attention when he was doing a couple of videos in 2017, such as like, you know, uh, Alien Covenant, which sucks, and whether Batman '89 holds up, and he got my attention. And I've been following his live stream sessions that rose from his box office addict program, as well as his Last Jedi stream. And I would definitely just like compliment his channel because his content is pretty solid when it comes to like movie reviews and stuff. And so he was telling me like all these things that Ohio has compared to how anybody would live in the state of California. So the housing is much cheaper. Um, the location is much more nicer. It's like it's pretty modern, and we'll get into my move in just a bit. But it's pretty much just how should I say this? It's pretty modern, but it's got like this vibe where Columbus, Ohio, has been around for quite a long time, and so there's like some refurbishing or foundation fixing within the state, and it seemed like the place to be. And he was offering me to network with him on his channel, so that way maybe through some exposure on his channel, perhaps I could get a following through my channel. Now my channel right now it's not ultimately active, but I do plan to produce some content later, and in the meantime, he's been inviting me over on his Discord server, where we got into many sessions on his Please Rewind live podcast, and it's been turning out pretty solid because, well, I suppose I should just get more to the point before I talk about my engagement with Pat and his YouTube channel. But I didn't picture myself living in California for at least another term, considering we have like a new president in the office, and our government fucking sucks. I mean, I really do not like our government, how it's handling California. And so from October to the rest of the holiday season, I was just living with my mom, and it was a nice place to that she was occupying. But you know what? There was another plus. It wasn't just my mom and my sister who were occupying the household, but it was actually my oldest brother who had like some sort of like housing move out from some apartment, but he was staying at my mom's, so that kind of made the apartment feel pretty confining, and not really relaxing to be, because I prefer to just like have my own space if everyone is just out of the apartment for any reason given. But I like having my own space to myself. And so I broke the news down to my mom, and she was kind of shocked about the decision about moving to another state, which has never happened within the family. But I told her this because, I'm a smart enough guy to make my way around. Uh, that I could be able to navigate this whole plan about taking this long trek to Columbus, Ohio. But first things first, I would just have to find the apartment that's local in Columbus and one that definitely meets my standards and my expectations in terms of like how much would I pay for the same roof and finding a job also before I start the move. And luckily, through my job searches, there was like a lot of inquiries for people who noticed my resume and how well articulate and detailed it is in terms of who they're looking for to hire. And mostly the jobs that kind of called me out for interviews were mainly just like commission based sales rep positions, which is something that I'd be open to, but I don't want to be ultimately reliant on commission based work because that's not really what I want to start out. I prefer salary and full time. As long as the job is daytime hours, then that's a plus, and benefits would be included. So I was able to secure an interview for a current job that I am held at, and mainly it just required just like a Skype interview process just to get the questionnaires out, and I was working in some storage company, so I had to just like navigate this whole you know this whole opening of making an interview before I had to make my day job that I was holding in California. And it still worked out pretty well. There were some issues about linking in through the interview, and it wasn't Skype. It was actually a Zoom call, Zoom Communications. If you're familiar with that app, which I've been using to speak to a couple of close friends. So that happened, and we got through the questionnaire. Basically, like, when do I plan to move to Columbus, and how would I be qualified for the position, and what my current job entails in order to move forward with this other job. And interview worked out pretty well. I was able to secure a date where I can start like orientation as well as like first day on the field. And so that was settled. And I found a good apartment in downtown Columbus. Happens to be in Ohio State University grounds, but it's not solely for students. I actually asked first if it's like would it matter if I wasn't a student, and luckily that was the case. I was able to file an application, put in my deposit, and secure the apartment for my 3 day journey. And here's another thing: I was working in a storage company, and I was trying to get a transfer over into LA County, but that was impossible because you're not supposed to use your cell phone out on the job. I actually got cited, and and the report, the write up actually, sorry, the write up that I got for doing so prevented me from transferring to some local property or district until I was telling my bosses about my move, that I was going to move forward with moving to Columbus. And just a month in, before I was ready to start my long drive over there, my boss asked me if I'd still be interested in the transfer. I'm like, yes. Is that still possible? For one, for a Columbus transfer. She says like, yeah, yeah, because right now your write up has already met the period where you're able to transfer to any property or any district that you want to play. Oh, perfect. That's good. Now I didn't tell them at the time that I had this job opportunity with the Columbus with the Columbus job offer because I just wanted to I wanted to keep it quiet, but I wanted to see what the other job what the other job would look like. So we arranged just like some paperwork process, and I got into a phone interview with one of the storage managers in the district that is held here in Columbus. We talked for a bit. It wasn't so much of an interview, but more like just a formal conversation. So that happened, and I was set to transfer over there, but I wanted to just be sure what decision I wanted to make first. So I was holding off on two different job offers. One of which is one that's definitely open for me to start, and the other is just like, waiting for me to finalize the transfer. Unless something comes up, it would require just a phone call for confirmation. And so, in the meantime, while I was getting everything ready, I was working with the storage job, and I had a seasonal with Target, so I was able to make some money, extra money out of my full time salary with Target to save up for the move. And I was able to get by Christmas because Christmas is a motherfucker that will leave you dry if you're, since you have to like, you have to like shop presents. You have to buy presents for the family and stuff. So that was just like a big burn. Shit, give me 1 sec. So I was able to get through that, and you wanted to like catch up with some old friends. I actually did catch up with a few on New Year's and on a visit into the new year of 2021. But I was planning to, because there were some other friends that I know from high school that were playing like a little housewarming like kickback, where it was just gonna be like three of us really. We're gonna have some food and we're just gonna like watch some shit on Netflix or some video stream. But because of COVID, people were pretty scared to have people over or go outside, or and public venues were still closed in California. I think they still are. So we really couldn't go through with it. They had to. They had to cancel out because one of my friends happened to be sick with COVID, and she's okay. She's better, but she got sick during the Christmas break, during the Christmas period, so that was a big shocker. But they're doing fine. So we ended up just having like a Zoom session. Uh, we talked about some stuff, but wasn't much because I just got home from my day job, and I was going around Downey just to get some food. That way I could like, have something to eat before our Zoom session, and so that happened. It was nice. That was good. I'm hoping to do that again, since next month is going to be my birthday. So that happened, and couldn't really just like I couldn't really hang out with anybody, especially people who I really wanted to see, or like friends of close friends of mine who I never really talked to in high school, but I was very excited to do so when that time come. But because of COVID, everyone was just playing safe. They had to be, uh, you know, they have to play shut in and avoid, just getting sick from COVID because who would want to get sick? Who wouldn't want to get sick from COVID? I'm sorry, who would want to get sick from COVID? That wouldn't be a fun time. But so my work with Target met its season end, and I was getting close to packing up and begin my 3 day drive is how long it would take to go from California all the way to Ohio. And the day where I wrapped up my with my full time day job before I can start my transfer, there was a family tragedy that struck. I won't go into any more detail, but I could honestly say we're in in this decade where because of 2020 was like the year for death. Uh, People would expect that because 2020 is over, that means the worst is over. Well, unfortunately not, because the shades of 2020 still stayed in 2021, and it wasn't like this wasn't like a COVID related tragedy. I lost a relative, and it was mainly just like health issues that she was going through, and it's just something I don't really want to talk about, but uh, it kind of just like shook the family, and unfortunately, despite some things that my mom and the household were planning just to send me off on a good note, we I had to leave on such a very very melancholic, uh, somber somber fashion. But yeah, so that happened, and even some friends of mine lost some people in their family, so it's been hard for everybody. And right before I had to go. My oldest brother had to get tested because he wasn't feeling so hot, and he felt that he could be sick with something that's not like the seasonal flu. And so that news had dropped right when right in my last days where I was living in California. I'm just like, and he's told everybody, like, I think it was weeks prior, that he has been feeling sick, and so now, like, weeks later, he decided to finally get tested after all this time, when he could have been tested just like much sooner. And so I was pretty alarmed, because one thing I do want to avoid is fucking getting sick with COVID that I have to like be stuck with for my 3 day drive, and who knows if that drive could delay because I would happen to wake up one day and not feeling pretty hot to like drive anywhere, especially if I have to like sleep in a motel or hotel. And so that happened, and I was very conscious about you know going around the apartment, because I had to just like start wiping the doorknobs and shit in case there was any traces that anyone could get sick from COVID. And so I just, I had to just like kick it for the night. And then the next morning, I had to start packing up my things, the last of my stuff. Luckily, I got by with just the back seat, the passenger side of the driver section, and a full trunk of my personal shit. But fortunately, I just had to leave some other stuff, and I think my mom is going to ship them here. And so I had to say my final goodbyes to everybody, and it was pretty rough to leave, considering the tragedy that happened the night before. So that was just like a double whammy of fucking feeling like a piece of you is gone. Especially through my mom, because I wasn't that emotional about it, but it did really get to me, and my mom was pretty strict that I had to go because you see California is just like it's not the place to be right now, especially in this climate. And I was hoping to find something for myself over there, where everybody who I know from high school has either still stuck around in California with a promising job that pays for, fucking four figures worth of rent for housing, um, or married to somebody like halfway around the world, or at least somewhere outside the U.S. or outside of California at least, or relocated to another country. So I feel like I had to just like, that was a sign for me to embrace my adulthood and think about what I need to search for. So I can't really be reliant on catching up with old friends because everyone's already at their time that's been spent, and they are moving on to fulfilling well steady jobs, careers, raising families or starting families, or just looking for a change of scenery. So I was up on that third that third aspect of my life where I had to just like look for a change somewhere, but a change that would benefit me for my future. And so begins my 3 day trek. My first day took me from Los Angeles all the way to Victorville, which is it's a very conservative city, very anti Gavin Newsom, anti Biden. They got like they got like signage and postings like across certain shops and plazas. And from Victorville, it took me to Arizona, and Arizona looked pretty lovely at sundown, but there was like a storm. There was a report for stormy weather that was already hitting the Arizona freeway, and you know, I'll go into it when I reach my later days, but that was a lot of driving that whole 3 day trip. And so there was like a lot of rain that was pouring over Arizona until I reached my first destination for my hotel stop. And around midnight, the rain started to flurry and it then became snow because Arizona is like a desert state. So there's bound to be snow in the wintertime. And so I was shocked. There's fucking snow. And the reason I'm shocked about snow is because I never drove in snow. And I know driving in snow is like probably like the worst kind of condition for any driver. And so I had to move my car, and you don't really feel much ground or terrain. All you can feel is just snow, and it's like very smooth surface, sort of like traction, which was kind of intimidating because if any turn can go wrong, I could probably just like have my car like drive off on its own, or at least keep sliding on solid ice until it hits something, which fortunately that didn't happen. So my next trip, the day after that, was going from Arizona to Albuquerque, New Mexico. A lot of canyon views, and it was quite beautiful, Albuquerque. A lot of canyon views, some beautiful plains, some fields that you were able to see, and then the drive took me all the way to Texas. So in Texas, I had to. It was pretty much just like a connection of freeways and highways where I was getting off, and so it was just like it was obviously pit stop. What do you call it? City where I was at. Fuck, I forgot the name of the city. But it was obviously pit stop Texas, where it was just like tons and tons of freeways, roads, gas station stops, hotel stops, restaurants. And so I happened to found a hotel room for my second night's sleep. Um, it's not really like a franchise company. It was just like some typical Texan hotel, and there was like a saloon or like a bar where people can, can still go drink and have dances to some redneckery. Out the cowboy. So you still have the COVID restrictions, but you can still do stuff in Texas. You just have to wear a mask everywhere, wherever you go. And so I didn't really like my hotel stuff. It was just kind of like, yeah, it was kind of like 3 out of 5 star quality. There wasn't any Wi-Fi there for me to like link up, so my Wi-Fi was pretty spotty on free connection. And I had to get up pretty early because my usual drives across across the states so far have been like a maximum of 4 to 5 hours. And the next day, where I had to drive from Texas and onward, would take me 10 hours at max. So that was kind of like the roughest part of the whole drive. Was just like the day that I was dreading was when I had to like drive like at 10 hours maximum. So the next day, which I think that's yeah, that's after day 2 for my drive, was when was pretty much when I had to like drive from Texas, and then now the good thing is I didn't really like encounter any toll systems or toll roads, but when I arrived to Oklahoma, it was just nothing but checkpoints where you have to pay for the tolls. And I did enough research to how many days, I'd be driving, the hotels I needed to stop at in order to feel like I got a good enough distance to reach my destination, and researching gas stops. So if there's like a particular uh, count of miles that would be spent on reaching from point A to point B to point C, I would have to find like a gas stop in between those points. But I wasn't aware that Oklahoma was pretty toll heavy. And luckily, my car had some spare change that I was gathering up for quite a long time. That I had enough change to get by on the toll payments. And if you're planning a road trip across Oklahoma, I definitely recommend getting like some sort of like transponder currency device. That way you don't have to pay for that way you have to worry about loose change or dollar payments when you encounter these toll points. And so from Oklahoma it began a long drive to Missouri. And my whole drive over there spent mostly at nighttime, where I was just looking at the same pitch black darkness, the same sort of like some mountains, some forests, because I didn't even know where the fuck I was at. It was just pitch fucking black. I didn't have nothing going on around me. So that was just that was just a part of my long extended drive to Missouri, which then would be like my third motel stop. So I was able to drive to St. Louis, Missouri. I had to grab some food, so during my drive I had nothing but just fucking McDonald's and Costco pizza because I wanted to spend pretty light on food. But this time I wanted to make the exception. Since I was getting close to Ohio, I wanted to go to somewhere different for food. And breakfast would surely be an IHOP day the following morning. But I went to a Raising Cane stop, And I didn't really like their service, but the food wasn't so bad. The only big plus side is pretty much the service because I think they got pretty much just like these very like I don't want to cross this with this as like a racial joke, but there was like these fat like thick like black girls that were working in the food crew, and they just come off as pretty. They just come off as pretty like they should work their ethic up a bit or their table manners in terms of like serving people through drive-throughs. But it didn't go. It didn't go into a place where I was very pissed, but I was kind of irritated by the person who served me the food at the drive-through window. Oh, the food was good, and I was able to kick back. So I was at like some sort of Marriott stop. I think it was a Marriott, which was like the best hotel out of my three stops. And Wi-Fi was much better. There was like, a spare couch. I got all my all my hotel rooms had like queen size beds, so I got like a much nicer, much more comfier, stockier bed, and it was good. It was a good night indeed. Look, unfortunately, there weren't any. Sorry, there weren't any dates to pick up. Give me one sec. Yeah. And so finally, the final day approaches where I will surely meet my arrival to Ohio. So it starts off with a breakfast at the IHOP, and I had made like a big steak omelet dish with three pieces of pancakes, and it was fucking good. Couldn't finish the whole omelet, so I had to take that with leftovers and start my drive through Illinois until it led me into Ohio. And pretty much throughout that whole drive, it was just nothing but a collection of just trucks, like just loading trucks just driving by. Road signs that tell you like the next rest stop is approaching. Fortunately, I couldn't get all the pictures for all the state entrances. I mean, I got just a few, but like not every state that I crossed into, because for some states it was already night, so I wasn't really comfortable getting off to get a picture of like welcome to Arizona or welcome to fucking Missouri. And so I finally arrived in Columbus, but unfortunately, the apartment company who signed me up for the studio apartment, so I just got me a studio because I don't really need much space. I got me a studio, and the guy who I was keeping tabs with in terms of my move, he wasn't in the office, and their whole office was closed by that point. Ooh, give me one sec. Yeah, so, excuse me. So their office was already closed, which is a big fucking red flag because I didn't have the keys for my apartment. So I had to go through their office and try to find the keys for my move-in. And I tried to reach the emergency line. So hopefully there was like a benefit of the doubt that I could get some help. But for some reason, when I got connected to their emergency line, they know that their service was mainly for just like if they need some resident to report some emergency related issue with their apartment or a attempted burglary or attempted crime on site. So they began asking me like just the first question is just like like welcome to our emergency service line. How may I help you? So I just told them like my whole story that I have no way of getting inside my apartment. My office, the office who I'm supposed to meet with, is closed, and I don't know who to talk to. And so like um, the guy just asked me another question, and so I just had to restate my whole story again because I have no set of keys. I can't get into my apartment to start moving in my stuff. I'm stuck out here. Essentially, I'm pretty much homeless for the night. Um, but no worries. I mean, I would just book another hotel or another motel room. And so I told him my case again, and after two instances where they asked me of the kind of on what they I'm sorry. Ugh. In two instances on what they asked me about, the guy on the phone told me that that this line is for emergencies only. And so like throughout this whole time, I've been wasting my breath with this fucking guy, and he could have told me a lot sooner just to spare both of our time. So I just like well, thank you, but thanks for nothing. But you have a good night then. So I just hung up. And that is where I meet my friend Pat of Please Rewind. So I had no fucking apartment to move into, at least until the next morning where I could visit their office when it's open during their schedule of hours. And so I hit up Pat because he was open to just have me crash just in case. And so, yeah, he invited me over just for the night. And I had to go grab some food before I start driving over to his place. He lives in Delaware, which is pretty much just like it's like a 20-mile drive from Columbus. And he had lived in Columbus before, but he had to move to Delaware just because of the area, how nicer it is compared to Columbus. And so I had to go grab some food. I had to like refill on gas, and then I made my way over to Delaware. And I did arrive at his apartment unit. And yeah, and that was actually a great night because first off, okay, this isn't the kind of circumstance I would picture if I had to meet Please Rewind in person. I would have, I would have, I would have planned it much better. I would have planned a much better day, in a much better situation to meet him. But he was just as cool as his YouTube personality, and on his streams, his girlfriend would pop in on the stream, and she's actually pretty cool as well. So we just kind of like talked about movies. We were bitching about Endgame and Return of the Jedi as well as Batman '89, much like in a clever Please Rewind fashion. And so that happened. It was a good night. I didn't want to like impose on their hospitality too much. I was just being as courteous and nice and humble as much as I can be. And so we kind of immediately we just kind of hit it off because already not only I was in Columbus, but it feels like I would be right at home within the state because I already know him good enough to consider him as like a good friend. And so I crashed there, and the next morning I had to like get up pretty early. I had to start packing in my toiletries and my goods. That way I could just like head over to the office. So I left on a good note, and they were very open to have me over at a better and much more open time, especially on the weekend, because that's when we would like just network or just like shoot the shit, watch some movies, play some games, and just talk about shit, man. So I made my way over to the apartment offices, and I was able to meet with like the landlords and managers, and I got my keys, no problem. And so I started I started making some calls. I had to like postpone my first day with the job I had already ready for me to start here in Columbus for like the next following day, and I had to explain like the whole situation with not moving into my apartment on time in order to like meet the initial day. So I arrived on a Monday, and so I was scheduled to show up there on a Wednesday, but because I had to crash at Pat's apartment, I wanted to call in, just reschedule it, just push it for a day later. That way, not only do I have to spend time moving in myself, I want to take the day to get my driver's license signed off and paid for, as well as getting my title transferred from California. And so I moved in all my stuff. I got my driver's license set up for the next day, and the next day I was able to start my first day and in this company. Where I'll be going to like door to door schedule some housing inspections. And it's not commission based, it's pretty much just like on a salary, but you get like a little something if you get a scheduled inspection going. So, excuse me. So I was kind of liking the job, and maybe just rethink my options. That I had to. Unfortunately, and this was just like with as much gratitude and professional courtesy as possible. I had to turn down my storage job transfer for this position because it seemed like it was like a good enough fit. I had to call the district manager in Columbus, tell him that you know what, I was just at this job that I had open for me for a while, and the reason I didn't say so is because I wanted to check this job out, just close hands, see how it works out. And I'm kind of liking this job a lot. Then unfortunately, I'm going to have to pass on the transfer. And I made that to both of my managers in Columbus and back in California. And so the guy was pretty bummed out because he wanted to meet me since I had like a good sales metrics, a good report, a good word of recommendation from my district manager in California. But I told him that if something happens, I'd be open. In case of emergency, I would definitely look forward to reapplying and securing this position again with storage. But believe me, I don't really picture myself being in storage. So I left. So I had to leave that transfer position on a good courtesy note. That way I can stick with my current job as of right now. And so, like the following week, I was going through some training, just going through scripting because it's a lot of like there's a script that you have to follow, and I was actually getting the hang of it. That at some point I was able to schedule a couple of inspections, and I was about to leave on a very good note. Like not leave like my job. Well, I mean like leave the week for the week, like get ready for the weekend, but moving behind the prior week on a very good note because I was getting some people in, which is what my position would entail. But then all of a sudden, we had like a heavy snow season, a snow period, and it wasn't like blizzard inducing. It was just like we got some snow, so there's a buildup of black ice that you have to be careful with. And on the Friday when I was so looking forward to, I was really loving the job. I was looking forward to the weekend where I could just like take my hard work at ease and just have a break from it. In one of the neighborhoods, there was a lot of ice, and our job involves just walking down to these neighborhood streets on foot. And I was left by myself to, pass out brochures and hopefully knock on a neighbor's door and schedule an inspection. So it wasn't really going very well for me until I was very cautious about the ice because I almost slipped, and I was able to get a grasp on of of just like of just walking over this ice because the streets were sometimes covered in this very thick ice that anyone without the proper shoes would easily fall under. And so, in one of the last houses I was knocking the door at, there was no answer. I left I left like a company brochure on their door handle. And as I was getting off, all of a fucking sudden, I took a fucking hard fell, face first, into the fucking concrete pavement because the porch had like steps that I was climbing off, and then as I was leaving this house, I just fucking slipped just like that. It happened out of nowhere. Now I said face first, so you might imply that I hit my fucking forehead against the fucking concrete, but luckily it didn't go. It wasn't direct, but I slid off so rapidly that I kind of hit the side of my head where my ear kind of got scraped off a bit, and my eyebrow kind of got like it also got a scrape as well, which where it was bleeding. But I took a fucking hit just like that, and it felt like the kind of hit that when you start to like get yourself up, it was it felt like I was knocked out, and it was fucking scary because when I got up, I did not remember where I was at that moment. So that was pretty much that was without mistake. I had a concussion. So I didn't know where I was. I forgot what I was doing in that neighborhood, and this happened on the job. So as soon as I got up, I phoned my field manager to let him know that I just took a fall and I feel pretty hurt from it. So I had to be taken to like a hospital. Like I told him like details. Like I don't even know where I'm at. I feel like I just forgot where I was from the impact, and so I had to be transferred between two different hospitals, which was also very scary for me because I just canceled my state insurance in California in order to like secure insurance in Ohio, and uh, and so I had to be transferred between two different hospitals. One at the ER where I had to be taken to like the closest ER in the area for where we're at, and because of my concussion, it was pretty much like a trauma related like injury that I had to be taken to a different hospital that deals strictly with trauma reports. And so I was just on a brace, as uncomfortable as you might expect, just laying like flat down on like a hospital bed or stretcher, and it was very scary to be in because one, I couldn't really move my neck because they had to like put me through X-rays, CAT scans to see what could be what could be fractured or what could be torn from the fall. And it turns out my concussion impacted my neck so severely that it tore a ligament within my neckline. Now, the ligament isn't very severe, where they were actually proposing surgery, which was another fucking holy shit, this cannot be fucking happening moment. But luckily, they put me through a series of like physical examinations where I had to like move my body to make sure that the impact of my spine did not affect my neurological system, uh, where movement is any movement is severed. So I was able to move my arms, my hands. I could move my feet around, and I could apply force for from both my legs and my arms. And so that's pretty much like a sign where, you know, because of my because I tend to keep shape, I have to like that was a sign where my body was healthy enough, able enough to uh, let my ligaments heal by wearing a neck brace constantly. So after my two visits between those two hospitals, I was required to sit out for 4 weeks on a neck brace. So I had to wear a brace for the next 4 weeks. I can't do anything that's going to involve some heavy lifting. I can't really go out. I can't really drive often because driving would require for me to like just turn my neck to my side mirrors and stuff in case I have to see what car is coming by. So I spent the first week of that period just on a brace constantly. I didn't have any furniture, so pretty much I was just like watching shit off my laptop and off my smartphone, and I had HBO Max, so I had like a good. I was going back to just watching some movies again, where I watched pretty much just all of Miyazaki's movies off HBO Max, and because of the Justice League Snyder cut, I wanted to like go back to the DCEU and rewatch some of the films I've already seen as well as some new ones I haven't. And I'll get into the Snyder cut in a bit, but found it much better. And so the first week was just nothing but, and I had like pretty much like a stock hold full of food already from my grocery trips. So it lasted me just enough before I had to go out and shop for more groceries. But it was a series of things that happened. My car was left behind at the office where my job is held. Because I was taken to a hospital, I couldn't really go back to get my car um, until I was ready with a good support system to help me get my car back. But it was either going to be just hitting up my field manager, or, push comes to shove, I could ask Pat for just this one favor. Because my option would be the latter. So I hit up Pat. I told him what happened about the incident, about the injury. And he happened to got into a bit of an injury involving working out. Like, he slipped a disc. And so he's still, like, recuperating and shit. So I think he's better now, but, the slip disc injury was, like, months ago. It happened during the summer. So I hit up Pat, and him and his girlfriend were very nice enough to stop by Columbus and help me drive, or at least take me to fucking to the fucking office, and that way I could just like get to my car and drive it back to my Columbus apartment. And so that happened, and yeah, we were just talking on our drive back from the office to Columbus, and I was very happy that with their help I was able to get my car back. And yeah, I owed him big time. And so I got my car back. So right now it's just sitting in the fucking apartment to just rest up and eat my 3 meals a day. That way I could my body can be healthy enough to recuperate. And on the day of the accident, I happened to order some furniture already. So my furniture had just arrived in the apartment, and so I was careless to spend a whole week to rest up. That hopefully my neck wouldn't be too bad, that I could build my own furniture, and so that happened. So I had to move around like 10 to 15 pounds worth of furniture to build. That way my apartment can be furnished in places. That way I don't have to feel so uncomfortable watching shit on the fucking floor or my air mattress. and thankfully there was no strain or the stress of it didn't really cause issues with my neck, so I was able to get by. And so the following weeks did happen. I was rushing up pretty easy, and I had a good time just rewatching the Miyazaki films, and I actually watched Donner's Superman 1 and 2. Well, Superman 2 wasn't entirely directed from Donner because there was a change of directors. But I saw Superman, and I was fucking enchanted by that movie. And I did like the sequel. And I never saw, like, the Superman movies ever. And so the weeks came by. So after the first week where I had to just rest up, my job, which they were very supportive to leave me under workers' compensation because my hospital bills came in, but I was going to be taken care of under workers' comp, and I was going to be put on light duty as long as I get a note from the doctor that allows me to do so. So I made my stop at one of the hospitals to meet up with one of the doctors that took care of me, and she had to like examine my neck and stuff, and she asked me the following questions: if my body has felt anything strange since the injury, and it hasn't really. So I got the note, spent like the next 3 weeks under light work duty, just doing some pretty much just envelope folding in the office, at least until I get better back on full duty. So I met with my neurological surgeon doctor after my 4 week period. Excuse me, after my 4 week period, and I had some issues just trying to get my appointment because she deals with neurosurgery. She had like a couple people that gave her the emergency calls to tend to any surgical needs. So my appointments got changed, and until I did get the opening, I was able to visit the doctor under her examination, under a X-ray review of my neck. So my neck is just 90% healed up. They went through the same physical therapy processes as I did when I was admitted into the two hospitals. And so right now, they put me on an extra 2 weeks to let my neck fully heal up. So by this Monday, I will be back full duty. So a lot of things happened as I was getting settled over in Columbus. I was starting to get everything ready, and unfortunately, the injury kind of like postponed a lot of things for me. Where if I was meeting my payments and all that, or sorry, when I was getting paid, I had to just like I had to be sure that I had enough to spend for essentials before I had to do any big moves like securing a new laptop where I could do stuff like this, live stream at ease without any issues. Because my MacBook is pretty dated to the point where if you notice on live streams I had on my channel, I couldn't really like live stream on a healthy connection, where the connection would just often lag or just cut out, where my mic wouldn't work. So that happened, and I was able to keep resting easy, let my neck heal up, and to the point where I was comfortable enough to make enough money. I made the jump to sign up for a gaming laptop under a payment plan. So my laptop just arrived, as you can see through the background. I also got me a monitor, which will definitely give me like a bigger picture whenever I had to do some work on it. And it's going to be very useful to do gaming streams, because my gaming streams would often have me connect my laptop to the living room TV. I don't have to do that anymore, so I could just connect whatever gaming console and my gaming laptop to the monitor close by me. And so I got that stuff down, and I'm really loving my new laptop. I know it's kind of a long story, but I just wanted to get across to you guys where I've been and certain instances, certain stories that I had in my life that are worth sharing with all of you. Oh yeah, to the question of Will. Now, I actually did see the Snyder Cut, and it was a film, Justice League, from Zack Snyder, or Zack Schneider, the the masterful director of sober comic book adaptations, was going to come back with his director's cut, a 4-hour director's cut of a assembled Justice League movie that he had to leave production because of a family tragedy. And so Joss Whedon came by to adhere to studio demands to make it into 2 hours, make it into a fluffy, colorful, fun movie, as opposed to the dark, cynical, nihilistic, dour approach handling of Snyder's 2 previous movies. Now, here's the thing. I really think the DCEU has been a shit franchise, and I don't think Zack Snyder was the right guy to helm them. Because I hated Man of Steel, and I still hate it. I actually rewatched that movie. I really think it's genuinely one of the worst movies I've seen, and one of the biggest disappointments watching in the theater when it came out. That to me was like my Phantom Menace or my Spider-Man 3. Whichever disappointments line up with yours. And Batman v Superman, I mean, it's just as bad, but I wasn't emotionally angry towards the movie. It's got some decent parts, but it's just again, a continuation of the issues I have with Zack Snyder with Man of Steel. But to the Snyder Cut, I was long dreading it. And I did watch it with Pat. And he was dreading it too for a long time because he's made, and this is going to be a shocking plot twist that I'm about to head into. Not that the Justice League Snyder Cut was AIDS, but unlike his 2 films, I actually found his version of Justice League pretty entertaining. I know, shocking. But you know what? It's not a perfect movie. It's not a good movie. The first 2 hours are pretty much just a lot of padding and unwatchable Zack Snyder shit. But when it reaches halfway into the movie, my interest kind of was growing a bit, and it slowly grew as the movie went on from that halfway mark. That surprisingly, and this is gonna be laughable, I found it pretty entertaining to call it his best of the DC films. And that's not to say it's the best comic movie above it. Just to meet the standard, I'm applying it into the context of just Snyder's output on the DC franchise. And personally, I still enjoyed it. And it was very crazy too because me and Pat were watching it, and Pat was of the opinion that it was going to suck, and so was I. I was expecting it to be just another piece of trash of Zack Snyder, but the benefit of the doubt I was giving it was that, you know what? This could be another disaster, but who knows if I'll like it. and I liked half of the movie. Because it seemed like Zack Snyder was, because the problem with his movies is that he applies this weird, pretentious subtext in how he views comic book characters as like mythical gods. And so that never worked. That never worked with Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, where he ultimately takes those movies very seriously, but the plotting and storytelling is just like paper thin. That it's laughable and terrible. It's very terrible to watch. But the Snyder cut for Justice League, it's like Snyder cutting loose from that shit and ultimately making just a pretty like adequate popcorn movie. So I didn't have any issues with the Snyder cut, except for the first half, which is borderline unwatchable if you're willing to put up with that. But, you know, since my new tech has come by, I do plan to do some content for the channel. I want to get my WandaVision and Justice League reviews out. Unfortunately, I haven't really, like, sat down on a piece of paper to start writing ideas. But I found out that April's coming, and I talked about an April Fool's video that I want to get out weeks ago. And so we're getting close to April, so perhaps maybe I should take my time to focus on that and postpone my takes for the WandaVision and Justice League. And here, this is another opportunity for what I do plan to do for my gaming live streams. So my gaming live streams have mainly been just like revisiting Resident Evil, and I touched on Halo a bit, but to give you guys a little sneak peek of what I plan to cover next on my official Let's Play, drum roll please. There you go. So it's going to be a challenge for me to get through. But yeah, my next Let's Play will be covering The Last of Us Part 2. The game of the generation. So I already got these thumbnails set up. Let me switch over to my other ones. And you're going to notice that across my thumbnails, my avatars indicate like a change of demeanor in them. But this Let's Play is going to be covered into 6 parts because it's a long game. It's likely going to be like a 25 to 30 hour like video game to cover. And so that means there's going to be a lot of playtime that's going to go on. So I got these thumbnails all set up on Photoshop, and this is something I'm going to have to commit to because one thing's for certain, that I'm only going to play this once, and I've bitched about The Last of Us Part 2 and how much I hate the story and how much I hated just like treating the characters from the first game as well as like connecting them. It's a bad sequel. I'm just going to say this. It's a really, really, really bad sequel. And quite frankly, as a video game, for what I've seen, is obviously like the worst examples of a video game in terms of like crossing over story with gameplay, the constant instances of oh shit, I forgot the term. It's a fancy term. Fuck. I need to look it up. Little narrative dissonance. There you go. There are a lot of instances of little narrative dissonance. Head up to the final thumbnail. And there you go. So my avatar starts out pretty cool, like, okay, this game's gonna be a fun ride, but then my later avatars will be like, huh? What? Until the final thumbnail is just like me kind of just like, I just don't know what I just sat through. I'm just like kind of burnt out from the whole experience, which is likely going to be my my mindset after I play this game. And I bought the game, which I was going to avoid doing since it came out, but luckily the game was up for grabs at the Best Buy. It had like a $10 certificate, and so it cost me like $20 to spend, which is not low enough in order to like rate the value that this game is worth, because I think this game is worth less than $20. But yeah, this is gonna be like a 6-part let's play of The Last of Us Part 2. Hopefully I'll get some good laughs in, but it's gonna be a very draining, overwrought, miserable experience ahead. So that's what I have going on in the future. I think I might start my let's play in a week from this coming weekend. Oops, there we go. Back to the old workshop. Now my OBS is acting very strange. For some reason it doesn't show my my backgrounds. There we go. But yeah. I just got like I got some things going on in the future, and you know, since I've been local in Columbus, I've been engaging with Pat on his Please Rewind Live podcast, and they've frankly been doing well. And I will say, like, I'm not trying to sound like I've been, you know, the life of the party, but we were just inspired by Mahler's show with EFAP and stuff, and I feel like within our conversations that we had about movies, we actually. We have made pretty good jokes about stuff, and I always picture myself as his rags to his Mahler. So we had covered the Saturn Cup. We even talked about YMS rating the Indiana Jones movies and how poorly wrong he is. And talking about Mortal Kombat and 90s action movies all the way to like the Nolan movies, because in that Mortal Kombat stream we're just, you know, just freeform talking about Star Wars, Harry Potter, and then we talk about Mortal Kombat. We saw the trailer for the upcoming Mortal Kombat movie that's going to be on HBO Max, and we even like went back. We even went back to like 90s movies in the same caliber as the Paul W.S. Anderson Mortal Kombat movie. We went to like Street Fighter, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, and then we connected with action movies in the modern aesthetic or past aesthetics, like with the Batman movies with Batman '89 and Nolan. So that was like a roller coaster of shit. And then we even talked about WandaVision, which I'm not really a huge fan of. And unfortunately, I'm not really a huge fan of Marvel post-Endgame. Actually, post-Infinity War, because I think that's where, after Infinity War, you start to see the quality kind of dip. And I don't really think Endgame's a good movie, in retrospect. Oh, YMS, this week he posted his recent Sardonicast on him with his Indiana Jones ratings, but on the internet he had published his ratings through his Twitter, I believe. and they're held on his letterbox account. And I had like, and I made my position very clear of his stupid comments regarding his ratings. So it led to a series of good podcast discussions, and we might be back for Godzilla versus King Kong, the next Adam Wingard movie that he's directed. So who will be the king of that shitty MonsterVerse franchise? We'll never know. Until then, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, exactly. They're not the fucking stupid problem that is modern art house movies where they're 2 to 3 hours long. They happen to have good cinematography, good actors, good directors behind them. Like the directors, I'm not knocking the directors out for their eye, but Jesus Christ, stories such as like movies such as like Moonlight. I even saw like The Assistant on Hulu, which is another example of those. Ghost Story, Lady Bird, um, Ghost Story, Lady Bird, The Lobster. Yeah, just any of those fucking movies that seem to get by on critics. No, Moonlight was shit. Well, don't give me that. Moonlight's complete shit. Um, I seem to get by on critics because it's like, they get like the indie praise, or uh, they'll just put it on this weird virtue signaling pedestal, depending on the story that it's tackling. But then but then months go by past award season, no one like bothers to talk about these movies again. They just get by on like high ratings around Tomatoes, but they tell nothing stories. I just saw a Fantastic Planet at Pat's house. That movie is 70 minutes. It's an animated film. It has a good theme and subtext about like um, human rights, how we treat things as animals, and with with the relationship between the own, which is like the humans that are enslaved or captured by these towering blue aliens known as the Drog. There's like a bit of a god complex, and when and yeah, just in that film, it has its own style. It's pretty defining, and in 70 minutes, it tells a lot more than your typical 2 hour to 3 hour modern art house film does. And I mean, it does nothing. Even one film I could add is Blue is the Warmest Color, which I bought on Criterion, and I saw that film last year. And Jesus Christ, it has a. The problem with these movies is that they have like a good foundation of a story somewhere, but it's just like it gets bogged down by like scenes where nothing happens or just pretentious ass like art house filmmaking. Even Eighth Grade I can add for an example as well, because I saw Blue as the Warmest Color, and it has a good first 30 minutes of the film, but when that relationship happens, it just like it just devolves in a series of pornographic sex scenes, which is borderline to the point where it's just you're watching pornography. They go on forever, and there are these weird time jumps in these two characters on where they're at in life, but you don't really get like a sense of growth or development or some sort of like I don't know, some sort of change with them, because all it is just like it's a very uninteresting lesbian romance. And I saw an indie film that was on Amazon called Uncle Frank, and that's a pretty good movie. I liked Uncle Frank. Tells more than how those films say nothing. But yeah, next stream I'm gonna be with Pat. We're gonna be talking about King Kong versus Godzilla, so that's gonna be something worth digging into. Um, but yeah, the clash of the MonsterVerse is upon us, and it's gonna be very interesting indeed. But I'm gonna have to cut this stream. So hope you guys enjoy my life story and where I plan to or I plan to continue my run on YouTube because I'm hoping I could pick myself up, get some more subscribers. But as long as I put some shit out, hopefully I'll get a few people to follow. But if you're more than welcome to do so, you're open to find me on Twitter. I also have an Instagram, and I do have my own personal Discord server. Or if you'd like to hit me up through direct messaging, I could send you an invite. But I will have to leave soon because this was the mark that I want to go this long. And I'm pretty parched right now. Hope you guys like my shop, and I will be back soon with Pat on King Kong vs. Godzilla, where it's gonna be another fun time for both of us. But yeah, this is the MadCast Live signing off. I was your host, Madcap, and it's been a pleasure talking with anybody who was able to tune in on this stream, and hopefully things will pick up and I can see you and more people tuning in. But as always, whatever time zone you occupy, whatever country that you're currently held at, or whatever state in the United States you're residing in, thank you for tuning in. Excuse me. Thank you for tuning in, and wish you all a good night. This is Madcap signing off.